That movie with the woman running half a mile through a rainstorm in heels, because that's where the bathroom was. The one with the crowbar and the speech about how, at NASA, the bathrooms belong to everyone. The one where a room-sized IBM computer gets outrun by a woman with a pencil and a desktop calculator. That was Hidden Figures, the 2016 film about Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson. Three black women working at NASA in 1961 who were doing calculations the engineers couldn't do themselves, in a building where they put a colored label on the coffee pot so the others wouldn't have to share it. Taraji P. Henson played Katherine Johnson. The mathematician John Glenn refused to launch without. Octavia Spencer played Dorothy Vaughan, who ran her division for 2 full years before anyone would put it in her job title. Janelle Monáe played Mary Jackson, who had to appear before a Virginia judge just to sit in a classroom. The film also stars Kevin Costner, Jim Parsons, Kirsten Dunst, and Glenn Powell as John Glenn, a role Chris Pratt had already walked away from. They made you care about orbital mechanics. They made a bathroom feel like a civil rights battlefield. And the whole thing cost $25 million, which it earned back roughly 9 times over. But the story behind the movie, what these women actually did, what Hollywood rewrote when nobody was looking, and what was happening behind the camera during the most famous scene, is more surprising than anything that made the final cut. Everything you're about to hear is real. Today we're counting down 15 weird facts about Hidden Figures you probably didn't know. Before we dive in, hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into the films that shaped us. Let's get into the countdown with number 15. Number 15, a film about discrimination. Hit a soundtrack irony. Gospel singer Kim Burrell recorded I See a Victory with Pharrell Williams for the Hidden Figures soundtrack. It charted. It was Oscar eligible. In December 2016, she and Pharrell performed it on The Tonight Show and The Today Show. She was booked to perform it again on The Ellen DeGeneres Show in January. The campaign was going well. Then, on December 30th, a video surfaced of Burrell preaching at her Houston church, calling gay people perverted with considerable specificity. Ellen DeGeneres is one of the most prominent gay women in American entertainment. Her response was a single tweet. For those asking, Kim Burrell will not be appearing on my show. Pharrell released a statement condemning discrimination without naming her. Janelle Monáe condemned it by name. The song never got its planned Ellen moment. Burrell said she'd been taken out of context. The video suggests otherwise. A film about 3 women fighting discrimination had its soundtrack shelved because the person singing about overcoming discrimination was publicly discriminating. Number 7 is where things get strange on the actual set. Number 14, the director who chose Hidden Figures over Spider-Man. When his agent called on a Friday night, Melfi was in the final stages of consideration for Spider-Man Homecoming. The call came with a 55-page book proposal about 3 black female mathematicians at NASA. He read it over the weekend. Monday morning, get me out of Spider-Man. His most recent film was St. Vincent, a Bill Murray comedy he'd made in 2014, his first major studio picture. He was not, by any Hollywood measure, an obvious choice to helm a prestige Oscar contender. Nobody was racing to make Hidden Figures. The studio wasn't pushing. A director who hadn't had a major release in 2 years was voluntarily stepping off the most guaranteed payday in Hollywood to make a period drama about women most of the country had never heard of. Producer Donna Gigliotti later told The Hollywood Reporter that within a week of reading the script, Melfi was in her office saying, "Please let me direct this." Hidden Figures grossed $236 million worldwide. It beat Rogue One at the box office in its opening weekend from 1,686 fewer theaters. It earned an A+ cinema score in every single demographic, a grade only a handful of films in history have achieved. Spider-Man Homecoming made $880 million. The gap between those 2 numbers is the whole story. Number 13, Glenn Powell was broke when Hidden Figures found him. Powell's version, after Chris Pratt passed, I got a shot at it, which is just how life works. Chris Pratt gets the first shot at everything. He turned down more lucrative TV work that year to do it. He later described himself as dead broke. Hidden Figures was essentially his only job that year. Then he watched an early rough cut before the music, effects, and sound design had been added. He left the screening room, walked to the bushes on the Fox lot, and was ill. He told the therapist's podcast, "I thought I ruined this movie. I was like, all these women put in these great performances. I literally ruined this movie." He did not ruin the movie. Glenn Powell is now one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, and the role everyone gets when Chris Pratt says no is the role that put him there. Number 12, The Night Hidden Figures was hidden again. At the Golden Globes red carpet, NBC correspondent Jenna Bush Hager walked up to Pharrell Williams, who produced the film and scored it, and opened with, "So, you're nominated for Hidden Fences." Pharrell's face registered confusion. He said nothing. He let it go. She kept going. Hidden Fences merged the titles of Hidden Figures and Fences, two films with predominantly black casts, both nominated that night. The phrase trended within minutes. Then, later that evening, presenter Michael Keaton announced Octavia Spencer's nomination from the podium and called it Hidden Fences. Same gaffe, same night, two people. Hager came back the next morning with a tearful apology on Today. Pharrell tweeted, "Everyone makes mistakes. Hidden Fences does sound like an intriguing movie, though." Octavia Spencer, nominated for a film about women who spent their careers not getting proper credit, said, "We all make mistakes." The night Hidden Figures was supposed to be celebrated. Two separate people couldn't keep straight which black film was which. And the man who made the film stood there, heard it called by the wrong name, and said nothing. Number 11, The Hidden Figure, hidden from the actress playing her. Taraji P. Henson went to a historically black university, studied engineering, and had no idea Katherine Johnson existed. Henson told Deadline she hadn't heard of any of it. Not Johnson, not Vaughn, not Jackson. This was notable because Henson had attended Howard University, where she studied electrical engineering before switching to acting. She mentioned Ron McNair, a black NASA astronaut who died in the Challenger disaster in 1986 and who had attended an HBCU himself. If it wasn't for Katherine Johnson, there would have been no Ron. But hey, who am I? Never heard of her. When she read the script, she said she was hurt. Not moved, hurt. Because she'd grown up being told that math and science were for boys. And here was proof that women who looked like her had been doing it at the highest level for decades. The woman chosen to tell Katherine Johnson's story to the world was someone that story had been kept from. Number 9 is about the woman who ran the division, and what she did when the machine arrived that was supposed to replace her. Number 10, The Real Bathroom Hero, hidden from Hidden Figures. On a table in the back of the Langley cafeteria at NASA sat a cardboard sign, Colored Computers. And every single day, a woman named Miriam Mann, described in Margot Lee Shetterly's book as not even 5 feet tall, feet barely grazing the floor when she sat, walked in, clocked the sign, put it in her purse, and took it home. They would make a new one. She would take that one too. Shetterly describes her arriving each morning. "There's my sign for today." Into the purse. Gone. At some point, the sign went into Miriam Mann's purse and never came back. She hadn't filed a complaint or lobbied for a policy change. She'd just removed the problem every day until there was no problem left. Now. You know the scene in the film, Kevin Costner, Crowbar, the speech about how at NASA, the bathrooms belong to everyone. The director admitted to Vice News he invented all of it. His explanation, there needs to be white people who do the right thing. So Hollywood handed the moment to a fictional supervisor with a speech and a power tool. Miriam Mann did the actual work, with her handbag, for years. She doesn't have a line in the film. Number 9, the computer built to replace her made her irreplaceable. In 1949, the head of West Area Computing left. Vaughn took over the group. She supervised, managed, advocated for her women's pay and promotions. She ran the division. NACA held her in an acting role for 2 years, waiting, the book says, for a more acceptable candidate to materialize. The memo making it official finally arrived in January 1951. She became NACA's first black supervisor, and one of its few female supervisors of any race. Nobody said thank you. They just changed her title. Then the IBM 709-0 arrived, a machine that filled an entire room, cooled to polar temperatures to keep its vacuum tubes from overheating. Engineers couldn't get it running. Everyone else saw a threat. Vaughn saw an opportunity. She went to the local library. The only Fortran textbook was shelved in the whites-only section. She took it anyway. She taught herself the language after hours, taught every woman in her division. When the IBM technicians hit a wall and the machine sat there doing nothing, Vaughn was the one who made it run. The computer built to replace her made her irreplaceable instead. When a historian asked her decades later how she'd coped with all of it, the 2-year acting role, the discrimination, the held-back promotions, she gave 11 words. I changed what I could and what I couldn't. I endured. 11 words for 28 years. Number 8. She broke NASA's barrier, then rebuilt the door. Jackson wanted to be an engineer. The only graduate program that would get her there was a night class at Hampton High School. Hampton High School did not admit black students. She petitioned the city of Hampton for special permission. She won. She showed up. She did the work. In 1958, Mary Jackson became NASA's first black female engineer. And at that point in history, quite possibly the only black female aeronautical engineer working anywhere in the country. She co-authored 12 technical research papers. She reached the highest engineering title the agency had available. And then she stopped climbing. Not because she ran out of ability, because she ran out of ceiling. By 1979, she could see that no further promotions were coming. She took a demotion, accepted a pay cut, moved into Langley's Federal Women's Program, where she redesigned NASA's hiring pipelines from the inside, making sure the doors she'd crowbarred open didn't close behind her. 21 years breaking through, 6 years holding it open. When NASA named its Washington headquarters building after her in 2020, her daughter said, she was a scientist, humanitarian, wife, mother, and trailblazer. All of that, and still the kind of person who, once she got through the door, immediately started worrying about who was still outside. Number 7. The crowbar replaced Katherine Johnson's courage. Melfi admitted it directly to Vice News. He invented the crowbar scene, all of it. The walk across campus, the speech. None of that occurred. What actually happened was more defiant. Katherine Johnson walked into the nearest restroom and used it, regardless of what the sign on the door said. Shetterly's book states directly that Johnson refused to so much as enter the colored bathrooms. No confrontation, no supervisor. She just walked in. When Melfi was asked why he wrote in a fictional white boss to smash the sign, he said, "There needs to be white people who do the right thing." The real Katherine Johnson had been doing the right thing every day, alone. In 1961, Virginia, when defying those signs carried genuine consequences, she needed approximately 0 assistance from anyone with authority over her. Hollywood decided that wasn't cinematic enough, so they gave her a savior, a speech, and a power tool, and the audience cried at the scene that replaced the real one. Number 6. Taraji Henson filmed the breakdown, while living one. The most powerful scene in the film, Taraji Henson's bathroom monologue, was filmed while she was managing a real crisis between every take. Katherine Johnson, soaking wet, finally breaking. She explains that she runs half a mile to a segregated bathroom every single day, in any weather, because that's where the bathroom is. She describes working like a dog while living off coffee from a pot none of them will touch. Henson revealed on the Legacy Talk podcast that during the entire filming of that sequence, a loved one was in crisis offset. Her makeup artist had the phone. Henson was running down the hallway between every take, trying to keep this person on the line and work out how to get them help. Her specific concern, getting the right people there without making the situation worse. She was managing that in real time, in between takes of a scene about the price of being a black woman in America. I was present, I did it, and then, as soon as they yelled cut, I was running back down the hall. The most celebrated performance of Taraji Henson's career was delivered in pieces between emergencies by someone who was barely in the room. Number 5, the woman NASA kept out became the one Glenn needed. The IBM 709 had calculated Glenn's orbital trajectory. Glenn didn't trust it. He told engineers, "Get the girl to check the numbers. If she says they're good, I'm ready to go." Johnson spent a day and a half rerunning every calculation by hand on a desktop mechanical calculator. The numbers matched. Glenn launched on February 20th, 1962. He orbited Earth 3 times and came home. Here's what the film doesn't fully land. That same woman had spent years arguing her way into the room where these missions were planned. Women didn't attend Space Task Group briefings, not because of a written rule, but because nobody had thought to question it. Johnson asked if there was a law against it. There wasn't. She started showing up. Eventually, they stopped asking her to leave. So, when Glenn made his request, she was simultaneously the person the astronaut most trusted, and the person the institution was least sure should be in the building. He staked his survival on her specific brain, while they were still conducting an informal debate about whether she belonged in the hallway. 7 words from an astronaut set at number 4. Hidden Figures beats Star Wars with fewer theaters. Opening weekend, January 2017. Hidden Figures earned $22.8 million from 2,471 theaters. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, earned $22.1 million from 4,157 theaters. Hidden Figures had that 1,686 fewer locations, and still won. The industry had projected it at $16 to $18 million. The audience that showed up was 64% women and 37% African American. 2 groups Hollywood had spent decades insisting were not reliable box office. The film earned an A+ cinema score in every single demographic. That grade has been achieved by only a handful of films ever made. Total worldwide gross, $236 million. 3 women who spent their careers being told they didn't belong in the room had a film made about them that finished first at the box office, Against Star Wars, in January. Number 2 is about how one of these women got started, and the decision one man made that made all of it possible. Number 3, the Oscar snub that proved the movie's point. Hidden Figures received 3 Oscar nominations: Best Picture, Best Supporting Actress for Octavia Spencer, and Best Adapted Screenplay. Taraji P. Henson, who is in virtually every scene, who delivers the bathroom monologue that made audiences lose their composure, who carries the emotional weight of the entire film, received nothing, not even a nomination. The director was asked about it directly. Melfi told HuffPost he was disappointed, then offered his theory on why it happened. Taraji is on a series. She's working her butt off on her show constantly. Empire was in full swing. The Academy apparently couldn't separate Cookie Lyon from Katherine Johnson. Here's the kicker. Henson showed up to the Oscars anyway. On the red carpet, she told E! News, "When Ted Melfi sent me the script, I read it and I immediately got upset because I felt a dream had been stolen from me." She wasn't talking about the nomination. She was talking about Katherine Johnson, about growing up not knowing this woman existed. She went to the ceremony for the film, not for herself. The film about black women not getting credit for their work did not get its lead actress any credit for her work. Hidden Figures was the top-earning film in the Best Picture race. It lost all 3 nominations, and Taraji P. Henson sat in that room anyway, in a gown, and cheered for everyone else. Katherine Johnson, for her part, attended the ceremony too. She was 98 and arrived in a wheelchair. The cast brought her out to present an award. The room stood before she reached the microphone. She leaned in and said 2 words, "Thank you." Then she sat back down and let Hollywood figure out what it was actually thanking her for. Number 2, the school system failed her. Her family didn't. She was born in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, in 1918. The local segregated schools offered education to black children through the 8th grade. That was it. Catherine Coleman finished the 8th grade at 10 years old. Her hometown had nothing left to teach her, and no legal obligation to try. Her father, Joshua, packed up the family and drove them 120 miles to Institute, West Virginia, where she could attend high school on the campus of a historically black college. They moved, for her, because the county wouldn't. She graduated high school at 14. At West Virginia State, a professor named W.W. Shiflin Claytor, the 3rd black man in American history to earn a Ph.D. in mathematics, told her she would make a great research mathematician. Then he did something professors rarely do. He followed through. He created a new course, Analytic Geometry of Space, and offered it to the college. It was built for her. She graduated summa cum laude at 18, with degrees in mathematics and French. In 1939, she became the first black woman admitted to West Virginia University's graduate program. She left after 1 semester to start a family, and never went back for the degree. Decades later, she calculated the trajectories that sent human beings to the moon. NASA never asked whether she'd finished. The county that wouldn't build her a high school produced the woman who figured out how to leave the planet. Number 1, Katherine Johnson's recognition came 33 years late. She worked at NASA for 33 years. She retired in 1986. She went home. For nearly 3 decades, she was not famous. She was a retired mathematician in Hampton, Virginia, who had helped plot trajectories for Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo, including the moon landing. In 2015, President Obama gave her the Presidential Medal of Freedom. In 2017, NASA named a $23 million, 37,000 square foot research facility after her at Langley. She attended the ribbon cutting at 99. They asked what she thought. "You want my honest answer?" she said, laughing. "I think they're crazy." When she started at NACA in 1953, her official classification was subprofessional, a category designed to rank her below male engineers, regardless of what she was doing. She worked for 33 years and received her first public recognition at 97. She wasn't being modest. She genuinely didn't understand what the fuss was. Questions came in, she answered them. The answers kept the rockets on course. "I liked what I was doing," she told the crowd at the facility opening. "I liked work. I liked the stars and the stories we were telling. Not a hero, just someone who loved math, and who, at 97, was mildly surprised to learn the rest of the world had finally caught up." And there you have it. 15 facts about hidden figures. Which of these hit hardest? Tell us in the comments. And tell us which film we should cover next. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss the next one. Until next time.